Well, the MLB trade deadline is come and gone, and the Phillies got Jhoan Duran and Harrison Bader, the center fielder from the Twins, in a deal that sent Hendry Mendez and some other guy that probably never going to hear from again to Minnesota. I'll get to Hendry Mendez in a little bit in case you're unaware of who he is, but let's not make this move out to be anything more than what it actually is. The Phillies traded for right-handed Brandon Marsh. That's it. I've already seen it. I've already seen the tweets where we, as a fan base, convince ourselves that this is more. Convince ourselves that this is a really good move. Convince ourselves because of, bullshit sabermetric stacks, XVLORP, Quarsci, and, Batman symbol ampersand, and all that shit. We look at it and we go, oh my God, this move is great. And you know what? It's like Groundhog Day because we did the same thing last year with Austin Hayes, and I think we all remember how that went. Granted, Austin Hayes was injured, but he also wasn't very good for the Phillies. We do this, and I don't blame any fan base for necessarily doing it. You don't want to sit there and go like, holy shit, that is it? But that's the reality. At least for me, I sat there and went, oh my God, that's it. I've never seen a president of baseball operations fall in love with mediocre outfielders like Dave Dombrowski. 2 years ago, or was it maybe 3 years ago at this point? I think it was 3 years ago. He trades for Brandon Marsh, former top prospect from the Angels. Phillies think they can untap his potential. They can work with his swing. And at this point, we know what Brandon Marsh is. He is a dime a dozen outfielder that cannot play against lefties, that plays a really good defensive left field, not a very good defensive center field. And he is somebody that pretty much every Major League Baseball team has. He's expendable. And this season, they go out and they sign Max Kepler. And we all know what Max Kepler is. So you go out and I guess if you combine Harrison Bader and you combine Brandon Marsh, you get an everyday center fielder, maybe. But he's hitting .258. He's got 12 home runs. He's got 10 stolen bases. He is right-handed Brandon Marsh. So for all the tweets out there that you'll see, and for anybody out there that's a Phillies fan that is going to be over the moon about this and do backflips and pull hamstrings, trying to convince themselves this is the impact bat, you're kidding yourself. It's not. This is right-handed Brandon Marsh. In Jhoan Duran, they got an impact pitcher. They got what should be an impact closer, a shutdown ninth inning. You are winning the game. Going into the ninth inning, the game is essentially over. As I said when I released the reaction video to that deal, though, it all depends on how they use them. They traded for Carlos Estevez last year, and all of a sudden Carlos Estevez is coming out in the eighth inning. He's coming out in the seventh because that's what the metrics dictated. If they end up using Duran like the Minnesota Twins use Duran, okay, great move. And as I said in that video, if you end up having a parade down Broad Street, no one's really caring what happened with Eduardo Tait. You end up getting a closer under team control, great. My problem with this is they go out and they get Duran, and then Dave Dombrowski comes out and he says, yeah, we're done addressing relief help. What? Come again? You're done addressing... Why are you done addressing relief help? Why exactly? Do you think your bullpen is good? Because I assure you, sir, it's not. What annoys me the most about this trade deadline for Dave Dombrowski is he put himself in this position. He put himself exactly where he was when he made these deals. He made his bed, he had to lie in it. And he ends up giving up one of the best catching prospects in the game because he didn't adequately add during the offseason. He didn't sign, his big addition was Jordan Romano, who shouldn't even be on the team at this point. Like, he put himself here. Max Kepler, he put himself here by doing this. I would rather have Justin Crawford up than trade for Harrison Bader. It's not like I'm in love with Hendry Mendez, which, by the way, Hendry Mendez was a guy that 12th ranked prospect in the organization. They acquired him from the Brewers and right before the 2024 season in that offseason. And when the 2024 season started, he wasn't even in the top 30. With the Phillies organization, he has risen fast. He started off the season in high A Jersey Shore. He made it up to Reading. He never slowed down. I do weekly prospect updates for allphly.com. Hendry Mendez was somebody that routinely showed up in those because he was having a really, really good season. I'm not surprised that he got traded because he's organizational depth for the Phillies. They just have better outfield prospects that project to be better players at the major league level than Hendry Mendez. So, yeah, okay, trade him. I like the return for the Twins a lot, but you shouldn't have had to even give him up. Hendry Mendez should have been somebody that you used to acquire like a Tanner Banks person, which was a deal that I liked last year. And then they ended up giving up a decent prospect in William Bergolla to get Tanner Banks. He really wasn't used that much last year, but now he's used a lot because of that Jose Alvarado suspension. Jose Alvarado will be back before the end of the season, but he's not going to be eligible to pitch in the playoffs. So you go out there and you get a closer. At least, God, I hope that they use him as a closer. And that's it. And you're content with that. How? Now, I have to be fair. They didn't just get Duran. They signed David Robertson. We don't know what we're getting in David Robertson, though. I really hope that David Robertson is really, really good for the Phillies. And when he comes up, I really, really hope that they end up saying to Jordan Romano, thanks for your time, deuces. I have my doubts. I think the reality is that when David Robertson joins this team, they will send David Roberts down, they will send Seth Johnson down, and they will keep Jordan Romano on this team when it is clear to everybody with 2 eyeballs and 1 brain cell that this dude is cooked. He is horrible. Every time he comes in, the other team is racing to the bat rack. They are frothing at the mouth because this dude cannot pitch anymore. But Dave Dombrowski, and it's not just him, it's a lot of GMs in all sports, doesn't want to look foolish by having his big off-season addition to the bullpen. He doesn't want to look foolish by releasing that guy, so we're going to keep him on the roster. We're going to convince ourselves that, no, he's really turning a corner in August. So you go out, you make the one move, fine. On the surface level, these moves aren't horrible, I guess. But when you look around at baseball and you see what other teams did, and you see the Mets load up, and they go get Ryan Helsley, and they go out and they get Rogers from the Giants, and they trade for Cedric Mullins, and that's a team that's going all in. And your president of baseball ops is sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, as he does every trade deadline, for the prices to drop, and he ends up giving up one of the top catching prospects in the game and a pretty good outfield prospect, and he gets out of it a closer under team control. Good move, no complaints there, just pray to God he uses him correctly, and right-handed Brandon Marsh. I'm not pumped about this. Not at all. It got to the point where, like, when I saw the Harrison Bader move, I went, I would rather just not even make that move, bring up Justin Crawford, and have him play center field. Now, the sad part is, when they do bring up Justin Crawford, they're going to platoon him. And they're going to make sure that he only plays against, righty or a lefty. God forbid he plays against, because that's just what teams do nowadays. And it is frustrating as hell. None of this is going to matter. And we can all laugh at this. If fast forward to November, we are talking about a World Series parade. It's not lost on me that in 2008, no one thought the move of Joe Blanton was a good move. I loved it, but for the most part, like, no Phillies fans were pumped because you wanted CC Sabathia. And Joe Blanton goes undefeated. There's a chance Harrison Bader goes out there and, he hits 300 for this team, and I'll eat crow. I have no problem admitting I'm wrong. No problem. And I pray to God that Harrison Bader's arrival means no more Max Kepler and means even less Brandon Marsh. But at the same time, I have my doubts. I look at this trade deadline like the most Dave Dombrowski trade deadline of all time. They go out there, they get a mediocre outfielder, and they get a really good reliever. And that's pretty much what they've done the past 3 seasons. So this isn't a big surprise. It's just a frustration level for me as a Phillies fan looking at it, because I'm like, dude, you put yourself here. It didn't have to be like this. But you went to Five Below looking for an outfielder in the offseason and looking for a closer in the offseason, and you end up with Max Kepler and Jordan Romano, both of which should not be on this team. both of which will probably remain on this team. And that to me is the most frustrating part of this trade deadline. Because didn't have to be here. And yet here we are. Those prospects that were traded, Eduardo Tait, Mick Abel, Henry Mendez, throw in the other guy that will be a Long Island Duck before you know it. All those guys should have been used to acquire other pieces. Because this should have been addressed correctly in the offseason, and it failed. It was an abject failure. Period, point blank. This isn't to say that Dave Dombrowski has been a failure as the Phillies president of baseball ops, GM, whatever you want to call him. You know, he ends up signing Schwarber, home run. I believe he was the Wheeler signing as well. Nick Castellanos. I can't really give him credit for Trey Turner because Trey Turner was Bryce Harper. So it's not like every move he's made has been bad. But when it comes to trade deadlines, they've been lackluster. And this, to me, is a prime example of that. So, yeah, I'm pretty frustrated. But, hey, let me know what you think. Hopefully, as I said, hopefully it doesn't even matter. Hopefully we can all laugh about this and my outrage right now come November. But very frustrated. But, again, let me know what you think in the comments. Do me a favor. Subscribe button is important. You can share it if that'd be cool. Like, that's the thumbs up button. Dislike, you guys know where the buttons are. I'm going to go watch Twisted Metal. It's on Paramount Plus. It's really good.